I'm 87 years old now, and when people my age sit together, the conversation often turns to achievements. Some talk about successful careers, some talk about businesses they built, others talk about money they earned, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when someone asks me what I'm most proud of, I never mention my job. I never mention my house. I never mention the money that passed through my hands, because my greatest achievement has never been measured in dollars. My greatest achievement calls me Dad. Today, I want to tell you why. I grew up believing that success meant providing for your family, not with speeches, not with promises, but with actions. When my children were young, life wasn't easy. There were months when every dollar had a purpose before it even arrived. The mortgage, the groceries, the school supplies, the electricity bill, and somehow there was never much left. I remember standing in stores and putting things back on shelves, not because I didn't want them, because my children needed something more. At the time, it didn't feel noble. It felt normal. That's what parents do. They sacrifice quietly. Most of the time, nobody notices, and honestly, that's okay. Because parenthood was never about receiving credit. It was about giving opportunity. There were many things my children never saw. They never saw me lying awake at night wondering how I would pay for something. They never saw the worries I carried. They never saw the times I chose their future over my comfort. I remember driving the same old car for years longer than I wanted. Friends upgraded, neighbors upgraded, but every extra dollar seemed to have a better purpose. A school trip, a sports program, college savings, music lessons. At times I wondered if I was doing the right thing. Parents often do. You give and give and give, without any guarantee of what the future will bring, but you keep going anyway, because love rarely asks for guarantees. Years passed. The children grew, as they always do, and suddenly the little hands holding mine became adults building lives of their own. One became a teacher, another built a successful career, one started a beautiful family, and one afternoon sitting at a family gathering, I looked around the table. There were grandchildren laughing, my children talking, stories being shared, life everywhere, and in that moment, something hit me. This was the return on every investment I had ever made. Not money, not property, not possessions, people, good people, kind people, responsible people. That was the moment I realized I had never sacrificed anything at all. I had simply planted seeds, and now I was sitting in the shade of the trees. People tell you children grow up fast. When you're young, you hear those words and smile politely. You think you understand, but you don't. Not really. Because when you're living it day by day, the changes are almost invisible. One day you're teaching them how to ride a bicycle. The next, they're borrowing your car. One day you're helping them with homework. The next, they're moving into homes of their own. I still remember standing in a doorway watching my youngest child leave for college. I smiled. I hugged them. I told them how proud I was. Then I got back into my car and sat there for a long time, because the house would never feel quite the same again. That is the strange gift and heartbreak of parenthood. You spend years teaching your children how to live without you. And then, one day, they do. And that's exactly what they're supposed to do. When I was younger, I had a very different idea of success. I thought success meant promotions, a bigger paycheck, a nicer house, a better car. And for many years, I chased those things. Not because I was greedy, because I wanted security for my family. But now, at 87, my definition of success has completely changed. Success is receiving a phone call from your daughter just to see how you're doing. Success is your son showing up to help without being asked. Success is grandchildren who run into your arms when you walk through the door. Success is sitting around a table filled with laughter. Success is knowing your children became good human beings, not perfect, just good, kind, honest, compassionate. That matters more than any title I ever held, more than any paycheck I ever earned, and certainly more than anything I ever owned. Something happens when you reach my age. One day, without realizing it, the roles begin to change. For most of my life, I was the protector, the helper, the problem solver, the one people called when something went wrong. Then one morning, I noticed my son carrying something heavy for me, something I would have carried myself years earlier. Later, my daughter called to check if I had taken my medication. Another day, one of my children insisted on driving me somewhere. At first, I resisted. I didn't like it. I wanted to remain the strong one, the independent one. But eventually, I understood something beautiful. This wasn't weakness. This was love coming back home. The same love I had given them for decades. Now they were giving it back to me, and I cannot describe how much that means to an aging parent. Not because I need help, but because I know they care. And caring is one of the greatest gifts we can give another human being. People assume older men spend a lot of time thinking about money, about investments, about what they accumulated. Maybe some do. But when I sit quietly these days, that's not where my mind goes. I think about birthdays, family dinners, little league games, school concerts, road trips, Christmas mornings, ordinary moments that seemed small at the time, moments that now feel priceless. And when I look at my children today, I don't see executives, or homeowners, or professionals. I still see the little faces that once looked up at me and called me Dad. That feeling never leaves. Not at 50, not at 70, not even at 87. And if you ask me what I'm most proud of, my answer is simple. I am proud of the people they became. Because character lasts longer than success. Kindness lasts longer than wealth, and love lasts longer than anything money can buy. A few years ago, someone asked me a question. They said, "Robert, when you're gone, what do you hope people remember about you?" I thought about it for a moment, and the truth surprised even me. I didn't want to be remembered for how much money I made. I didn't want to be remembered for the house I owned, or the job I had, or the things I accumulated. Because eventually, all those things belong to someone else. The house, the car, the bank account. None of them stay with us forever. But something else does. The people we influence, the values we pass down, the love we leave behind. That stays. And when I look at my children today, I see pieces of myself living on. I see my daughter's kindness. I see my son's work ethic. I see the way they treat people. I see the values their mother and I tried so hard to teach. Not through lectures, but through everyday life. And that means more to me than I can possibly explain. There is a photograph sitting in my living room. It's not expensive. It's not rare. It's just an old family picture. The edges are worn now. The colors have faded. But every time I look at it, I smile. Because in that picture, my children are still young. They're laughing, running around, making noise, being kids. Back then, I thought life was happening somewhere ahead of me. I thought the important moments were still coming. But now, I know something different. Those were the important moments. The ordinary days, the noisy dinners, the bedtime stories, the soccer games, the family vacations, the moments I almost overlooked because they seemed so ordinary. Life isn't made of big moments. Life is made of thousands of small ones. And one day, Those small moments become your greatest treasures. If you're a parent watching this, let me tell you something. There may be days when you're tired, days when you wonder if you're doing enough, days when you feel unnoticed, days when parenting feels like nothing but sacrifice. Keep going, because the rewards often arrive years later, sometimes decades later. And when they do, they're worth every single sacrifice, every sleepless night, every worry, every dollar, every prayer, every difficult decision. At 87 years old, I can honestly say this. I never became a millionaire. I never became famous. I never changed the world. But I helped raise people who make the world a little better. And for me, that's enough. More than enough. In fact, it's everything. My greatest achievement isn't something I built. It's someone I loved. And if I had the chance to live my life all over again, I would make the same investment every single time. Because my children were never an expense. They were the greatest blessing of my life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take good care of yourself. And if you're lucky enough to still have your children in your life, give them a call. Tell them you're proud of them. You never know how much those words might mean. And trust me, from an 87-year-old father, they matter more than you think. The best investment I ever made wasn't in a bank. It was in my children.